I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 8, Episode 13 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast, slated to come out on September 22nd, 2025. And we're going to get right into it, talking about some brews that we're going to drink today, or a brew, not some. The Sloop Brewing's Brambleberry Crush. It's a golden ale fermented with blueberries and raspberries. It doesn't have much on the can as far as like words. It says brewed and canned by Sloop Brewing Company, 4.2% ALC by volume. I don't know what ALC by volume is. I think they mean ABV.
Well, the ALC for alcohol.
Oh, okay. Good catch right there. I now see the ABV is not abbreviated.
Mm-hmm.
My bad. But it doesn't have any more anything else other than store cold and drink fresh, which we have done. We've kept it cold, and we're drinking it within 3 weeks of purchase. So,
yeah, and I mean it's not bad. It's kind of mild, but it really does just taste like a kind of light golden ale that you let some blueberries and raspberries soak in, then you took them out. You know, there's not really a lot of added sweetness, but there's definitely the added like berry flavor. It's very easy to identify them as blueberry and raspberries. You know, it's not my favorite so far this season, but it's not terrible.
No, it's not bad. I mean, if you like a Bud Light, Miller Light kind of like style beer, so like that kind of lighter ale, American ale, golden ale, this is better than those.
Yeah.
I would 100% say better than those, but it's in that same sort of like vein.
Yeah,
of
it's that style.
That style. If you like that and you enjoy a nice fruity flavor, this would be the beer for you. I would rather have the intense fruit flavor than the golden ale flavor. Like it's a little bit more malty than I would want when it comes to that. But it's fine. I mean, I'm not gonna, to quote my my brother, I'm not gonna kick it out of bed for eating crackers.
Like I wouldn't, if I was at a bar, I wouldn't order a second one, but I would finish the one that I did order. You know,
right? I would drink it, or if I was like, so this is the sort of thing that if I had a cooler full of beer and there was like a bunch of stouts and porters, and there was 2 or 3 of these in there, and I had been working outside all day, and I was hot and sweaty, I would drink this.
Yeah, if you want something light or something refreshing, it's there for you. It's low ABV. It's very mild. You know, you could down a whole can of this if you just really needed something to drink. You know?
It's fairly crushable. It's just not. It's like crushable, but not super tasty, I think is the way that I'd put it. It's fine. It's just not. It's not blowing me away.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about here. So, I went to Chat GPT because we talked about this for the first half of the season. Let's take a mead recipe that we get from Chat GPT.
Yeah.
And take that and make it. And I went to Chat GPT, and it gave me some really bad mead recipes. One of them was they wanted me to put like bleach in the stuff to like clean it.
Oh, okay.
Like it was telling me how to sanitize it, but it was wanting me to do it with bleach and like to sanitize some of the like ingredients
truly
with
dangerous
that
information.
Yeah, like not like some sort of like weird hallucination. One of the things that it wanted me to do was I was like, I want a mead that gives me 10% ABV.
Yeah.
And is semi-sweet. And it told me to put 1 pound of honey in a gallon of water. So like not dangerous, but like just
not
incorrect.
Not correct.
It told me that the ABV would be like 14%. You know, just like a bunch of things like that. Like I want a fruity mead. It told me to put spices in it like cinnamon and clove. I want this. And I tried over and over. I would tell it I want a melomel. I want a hydromel. I want this. I want that. And it just, I never could get a recipe out of it that was even like something I would consider usable. Now that could change because there have been advancements in Claude and Chat GPT and Gemini in the last like 3 months.
Yeah.
And I tried that like right after we went on break.
Mm-hmm.
From that, I was like, all right, let me go try with Gemini. Let me see what Google can do out of this. And I was pleasantly surprised. Now, this didn't blow me away. It didn't come up with anything creative, and I definitely could come up with better recipes.
Yeah.
But we both have looked at it. It got correct ABV, estimations.
Proposed, yeah.
It told me that I needed 3 to 4 pounds of honey to be able to get to the proposed ABV that I want to get. So somewhere around 10, 11%. That's about right. I mean, depending on how much water you add to the honey and everything like that. It told me to use Lalvin D47 or Lalvin K1V116. Both, which I don't know about the K1V116. But I think that's a real yeast. I know D47 is.
Yeah.
And so, like, D47 is really great for making melomels and coffee melts because it, like, brings out a lot of those, like, nutty, fruity flavors. Got the correct 131.25 times whatever your subtraction of your gravity is for the ABV, like, just so many things. This is how you get to a gallon. This is what you put in for yeast nutrients. This is how much fruit you add and when you add it. It didn't tell me to add it in primary. It told me to add it in secondary. Like, it had all this other stuff. And you've read through this, so I'm just telling you about my experience and letting the listeners like hear about it too. I was impressed.
Yes.
Just impressed from like the standpoint of this could actually tell me some information that would be useful if I was a starting brewer and I could trust it in some way. And my new kid has been making baked goods based off of ChatGPT recipes. And like the recipes will tell them like put 1 pound of sugar into like your cake. Ooh. And then you're making bread, not cake and stuff like that. And like, some of the most terrible things that I've ever like tried. So like, I was not expecting anything good to come out of this, right? I am pleasantly surprised. There is actually, I think I want to try to make one of these, but you read over these. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was impressed too in the sense that there was maybe something to be desired about ingredient selection and ratio to really make something that'll taste really good. But the terms of the actual process and the basics, you could follow that and you will get a mead. It will be safe to consume. Maybe it won't be the most balanced of flavors, especially like the coffee mel. We had some discussion there. But it's the right amount of honey to get close to the ABV you're talking about. It is not too dissimilar from a recipe you might get just asking somebody for something on a forum.
Right.
It wasn't really manicured to the extent of like a true like recipe blog or something like that, or something you'd get out of a recipe book. But like if you were on a forum and you're like, hey, I'm going to make a coffee mel, what's some advice you got for me? Someone could have written out that post. That would have been passionate. Like, it would have been a good post, not just some person just saying, oh, just put coffee in it. Like an actual real attempt at teaching somebody to do something.
Absolutely. I mean, it really came across like, well, I don't even think I mentioned that I asked it to make 2 styles in one mead, essentially. And it kept the context and told me to add fruit, so a melomel and a coffee mel, so like a melomel coffee mel.
Yeah.
It told me add the fruit that you want. You can decide which type of fruit you want, and it gave me some suggestions.
Yeah.
I think cherries, raspberries, and blueberries were the main suggestions. And then it said to add 6 to 8 ounces of 4 to 6 ounces of coffee. I normally would add 6 to 8 ounces of coffee. That's really because I want that strong coffee flavor.
Yeah.
I think I might even add 10 ounces.
But
8 ounces is about a cup.
Yeah.
And 4 ounces is half a cup. And half a cup is normally what I put for a pot of coffee, which is about half a gallon. So like 6 ounces wouldn't be terribly off. And if you're going for like a lighter coffee flavor, that's not that bad. So like the ratios weren't far off. and I could probably have prompted it to, and I may go back and do this in the chat because I've got that record. Hey, I'd like for it to have a stronger coffee flavor. How much coffee do I need to make it bold with its coffee flavor or something like that? But man, that like so close that I could learn off of that if I didn't already know.
Yeah, potentially. I think that to the extent of you're trying to learn the process, that would have done a relatively decent job. Again, it's a recipe that would have produced a mead. I think maybe the thing for educational to it was lacking was explanation for what you're doing and why what you're doing matters.
Oh yeah, I'm not suggesting that I would want to tell someone, well, go ask Gemini instead of like learning how to. I think you still need another person, or at least like some sort of brew tube. Like,
yeah, it's good to have some context for why you do the things you do. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it was a recipe in the same vein of, hey, I found like I'm looking up how to make like Peruvian chicken because I really like Peruvian chicken, and it's expensive to buy from a store for delivery. So, like, how do I make this at home? It won't be as good because I don't have a rotisserie, but like, how would I make this at home in an oven? And it gives you an answer very similar to like you're going to see for like, just on a random website thing for it.
Yeah.
It's not as good as if I had found like a book on how to make, they had a bunch of Peruvian recipes and this is how they make theirs at home type of deal.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I will, in the Peruvian example, have a chicken that is cooked and is edible and it's not dangerous, Maybe it's not seasoned exactly how I want, but you got there.
Yeah.
And I think compared to your previous example of using bleach in your food, it's a much better route to go.
I agree. So if you wanted to start brewing and you've never brewed, I am not suggesting that you use Gemini as your tool to do that. Definitely not. I think this is a fun experiment just to see what the capabilities of AI are and how well it understands like the context of what you're doing for it, especially from someone who has, Jesus, how long have I been brewing?
It's been a while.
Has it been 7? No, it's been longer than that.
Yeah.
It's been.
We made our first stuff before my daughter was born, since she just turned 8, so probably like 9 years.
Yeah, getting close to 10, right? Oh my goodness, I'm old. I am so old. I even just said, "Oh my goodness." Anyways, but I've got like 9-10 years of experience in doing this. You have a little bit more. We both can look at this recipe and say, "Hey, that is a recipe.
Yeah,
that is actually something that will work. That's not going to give you like a 2% ABV mead.
Yeah.
It is not going to impart anything that's dangerous into it. If you follow the instructions properly, it's going to get you there. This has promise for being able to do something like, so what I could see this being useful for, let's say I had a mead recipe from like 1312 and I needed to like kind of suss out some things around it. And I could put it into Gemini and say, hey, this mead recipe has some things that are left out, like the amount of nutrients I need to add and things like that. You know, if I'm using a TOSNA schedule, how much and at what times would I put in Fermento? You know, if I needed you to, I don't have a scale, which is ridiculous. If you're brewing, you should have a scale.
Yeah.
But I don't have a scale. Can you tell me how many teaspoons of Fermento I need to put in? You know, things like that, like to help, like kind of augment my already existing knowledge. But you know, I think being able to research yeast to use it, like, well, what's the recommended yeast from Lalvin that I should use for a melomel? What is the recommended yeast from? What is the other company that does it that I don't use as much anymore? They have like Cote de Blanc and
the Red Star.
Yeah, Red Star. What is the Red Star suggested yeast to use for this style of yeast? And which one do people on the home brewers forum say that should be used? I think that could be a really good research assistant.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to test how it answers questions like that, because now it's getting a little bit more into the weeds of like, because one of the things I was thinking about is like what has maybe caused the such different answers between ChatGPT and Gemini, and I wonder if ChatGPT is maybe scanning from sources that are a little bit less verbose, you know, because if you're just reading someone offering advice on a forum, you know, you're probably getting the information of something like, oh, and yeah, make sure you clean your fruit so you don't introduce wild yeast.
Right.
And then what ChatGPT picks up is, and you need to clean your fruit. How do you clean something? And that's where it makes the leap to bleach that like no one would be talking about inside the thing. Whereas maybe Gemini is doing some more like formal stuff.
Right.
Which also would explain the really nice formatting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, so when you start going and asking maybe less typical questions of like what would be, you know, what would be the ideal yeast for this? Like how would it handle those answers, and could you play around with it?
Yeah.
But it's definitely, you know, this is not too dissimilar to, what was it, like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I did that experiment with like Thanksgiving dinner and had it like make me stuff. And I mean, at that point in time, none of the brewing stuff was any good at all.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that, you know, over these past couple of years, that's gotten pretty tightened up.
Well, really in like 3 months. Like, because I tried it like 3 months ago. If we're just going by ChatGPT's answer as being like the way it is, in 3 months there was a market difference.
Yeah. Well, you did ChatGPT, but then went to Gemini, right? Or did you do ChatGPT again as well?
I didn't try ChatGPT again. Yeah.
So like that, I think that's a little hard to say. Did it really improve in 3 months, or if 3 months ago you'd asked Gemini, would Gemini have still given you a good answer?
That's what I'm saying. Like in 3 months, even using different platforms, we went from, you could ask some stuff for dinner, and it gave some weird answers, but they weren't terrible for a recipe, right?
Yeah, no, that dinner was great.
Yeah, versus a brewing recipe, which is something that we talked about then, and was at best bad, at worst dangerous.
Yeah.
Now is something that could be used, you know. Now the question is, do we want to make this?
I think it would be, I don't know, not for something like that, because we know how to make a melomel, and you make a melomel that's really good, right? So all we're doing is seeing how much worse that recipe is than what you already know how to make. I would be more tempted to go into something new, and to say, okay, I want to make something that we've never made before. Can you produce me a thing that is good? Like, because one of the things I think will really struggle with is doing really like strong fruit forward things, because those mess with your ABV a lot, because obviously they've got fermentable sugar, and like there's a lot of guesswork there, because the fruit in season versus out of season has different sugar content, so it changes your ABV, it changes your other flavors. Like when you're going to want to be one of those people that's like, hey, I'm making a gallon something and I'm putting in 5 pounds of fruit into it, you know, where like a lot of, maybe I'm only doing 1.5 pounds of honey, and the rest is going to come from fresh fruit and or frozen fruit and things like that. Those are a lot harder to balance. Like even I struggle without calculators that and guides to go through and make those things. So that would maybe be something I'd be more interested in doing.
So you would, well, I mean, that's basically what I did was I was like, I want it to be this ABV, and it told me to put this much honey in with this much fruit.
Yeah, we could try something like that, but then also just like we could get really creative. We could just tell it to do something wild. We've talked about chocolate mead a bunch of times.
I've already made that, but we can see if we can make one better.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of what I would almost want to try that out with, is can it impress us in the sense of, this is something we didn't know how to make. It told us how to make it. We made it, and it was at least tolerable results. Yeah. Because otherwise, I just don't think, and you know, I don't think you can really expect for an AI to be able to come up with a recipe that's going to beat, you know, in this room right now, probably 25 years of experience. Yeah. You know, but when it's something we've never done before and maybe we don't know where to start, you know, some of these like more wild things we've talked about, like we tried to make a marshmallow mead once that didn't really go anywhere. You know, like we could say, hey, AI, do you have a better idea about this?
So make it like a s'mores mead. That's the one that we tried to make that didn't work out.
No, it was very bad.
Yeah, that's the one that blew up on your apartment.
Yeah.
and we haven't revisited. So like the ones that I've made that have been successful: chocolate, strawberry, banana. Yeah, I've definitely mastered Methiglen.
I think you did a pumpkin one once, right?
Pumpkin, yeah, I've done like the pumpkin one. I still haven't mastered though. Like that's a half mastery. I've done 2 or 3 pumpkin ones. The problem with the pumpkin one is it only like the pumpkin flavor goes away after like so long. It's like it kind of disappears. Yeah, we could try maybe pumpkin and s'mores.
Yeah.
So, hey, give me a pumpkin mead and a s'mores mead. I'll tell you what, next week, the next time, well, will we record next week? Yeah, we could. We could record next week.
Yeah.
So, depending on the day, by next weekend, you come up with a s'mores mead recipe that's all AI generated.
Okay.
And I'll come up with a pumpkin mead recipe that's all AI generated. Because I kind of know what I'm looking for with the pumpkin mead recipe. Now that I've done it a couple times.
Okay.
And then we'll have like part 2 of this. And then we're committing to making those 2 before we record the next time, and seeing like if the process is wrong or anything like that. Do you want to use ChatGPT or Gemini?
I think I'll probably ask both of them for their first shot, and whoever does the better first shot, I'll stick with for the refinement.
Okay, so let's use that same methodology for both of them. I'll do ChatGPT first, then Gemini, and see which one works best. And then whichever one works best, we'll refine it down to the best recipe that we can. And I think that what I'm going to look for is one that's baking spice forward and still has like that squash pumpkin flavor in it, without leaving a bunch of sediment. And you can come up with your own criteria, but maybe you can like at least commit to it in some way. Yeah. So, all right, cool. All right, we'll do that, and that should be fun.
Yeah.
I would do it with my own local AI, but I kind of killed the computer that it's on.
Oh no.
Yeah, so my local AI doesn't work anymore.
It's okay. With the hosted ones, we'll do for now.
Yeah, Jim's dead. Unfortunately, until I can get him a new body.
No, the brain's still alive. See, it's fine. He's he's in a coma. He's not dead.
I think just the motherboard's dead on my little mini PC I was running on. As long as I can get and transfer my stick of my M.2 SSD, or it's not an SSD, NVMe. As long as I can transfer those 2 things, all my storage and everything will be good.
Okay,
so it should still have the brain. It just doesn't have the other stuff.
Yeah.
Which poop. Anyways, I gave you a Miyoo Mini Flip to use as much as you would like.
Yeah.
Over the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Have you used it?
Some. I probably haven't played it as much as I should have to do like a formal review. Okay. But I did took it on a trip that I took, and I've played it a couple times, mostly showing my daughter like some of the games that I used to grow up with and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's still a really nice little device. I actually meant to bring it with me today, but I forgot. It's on probably my Christmas list, as I'll get something like that, because it really did kind of excel as a nice little thing for travel.
Yeah.
Especially the short trips through just going down to Florida. So, it's like those are a little bit longer than 2-hour flights. It was great to have a little something to flip over and play with, because I will fall asleep on a flight.
Yeah. And
I snore, which is like a terrible combo.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that person that's snoring on the flight.
I don't mind it as much because you're sitting beside me normally if we travel together, but like I know that I do the same thing if I don't have something to occupy my mind. So I get what you're saying. Like I'm always worried about like, am I going to annoy the person that's beside me? Or am I sitting beside this Samoan dude and he's going to like knock me out of my seat or something like that, right? Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, so it was a fun time. I'm kind of really liking I like the form factor of it. It is nice that it just like flips. And, it's very reminiscent of, like the Game Boys from our childhood. They've done a good job with it.
Now, would you rather have one that's like a Game Boy vertical? Because that symbolizes that, but, like the vertical format, or would you rather have one that's like a horizontal format, or do you like that, like flip? Because you don't really have to have a case with it.
Yeah, I think I like flip more than vertical, but I think horizontal would probably be my preference. But like, I don't know. There's pros and cons to all of them. I think a lot of it's the use case. I think Flip is probably a lot more useful traveling, but I think if I had a horizontal one, I'd be more likely to use it even when I wasn't traveling.
Okay, so let me set up the Game Boy, or not the Ambernick that I have. That's the horizontal one, that does that, because it's bigger than the other Miyoo that I let you borrow for a little bit. And you did say you like the larger screen, because this one's a 3.4 inch screen.
Okay.
That's the same size screen that the Ambernick is.
Gotcha.
So I'll put that together, and then maybe by the end of this podcast season,
we can definitely play around with it.
We can talk about like what you like and what you don't like about it. Because all right, so one of the reasons that I'm kind of pushing for this to happen, you generally have like 10 minutes with these things when we sit down and play with them. I've played with them for like weeks, sometimes months, before we go through a review, and you form an opinion in 10 minutes about what you like. And this is just a nerdy hobby thing that we're doing anyways, but you always are like, well, if I had this one, or if I did this one, or if I did this, or if I did that. And in my mind, selfishly, I want you to be able to have a gaming device that you enjoy and we can talk about and everything like that. And like you have like some kind of comparison to, but also like if like Game Boy Advance is like your perfect style of like thing, and the Flip versus the, handheld version of it and stuff like that, man, it would be really nice for you just to have one that you can just kind of say, well, all right, like I've got 10 minutes with this thing. I know what I love about this.
Yeah.
I think I might like this better. I don't like this better. I like this the same. But also, like, when we're not podcasting and we're just kind of hanging out and we're like talking about like, hey, did you beat Kadelka, or did you do this? Like, we decided to play a game together from like our childhood. Decided to maybe play one of the Mega Man series or one of the other RPGs. That would be cool too. So it's a little bit of a selfish thing, but also like, I want you to have some fun times.
Yeah. Hey, I'm on board. I'm not going to turn down fun.
But yeah, I'll set up the Ambernick, and next weekend I'll give it to you, because I think there's you have the Flip does the Spruce operating system. I can't remember what the operating system I put. It's either Onion OS or Spruce. But the Ambernick's stock operating system is fine. But I believe that they've put one of the alternative firmwares that I really like a whole lot, that like downloads the Gamebox art and like does all that other stuff for the RG34XX that I have. And so I would like you to experience that, because I think it's a better experience.
Okay. Yeah.
And that might also, make it like, well, I really like this operating system too, versus I like this other operating system. You might like one over the other and stuff like that. So yeah, plans for the future. Well, let's talk about what we want to see on the Steamdeck too. So, there's a bunch of PC gaming handhelds coming out. There's a new Xbox, handheld that's coming out that's like the ROG Ally Xbox.
Okay. Yeah, I heard of that. That's nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a Microsoft forward gaming handheld with improvements, so that it's able to use SteamOS or Windows.
Yeah, I guess on the Windows they'd have like Game Pass integration and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, they've got Game Pass integration on both now.
Okay.
And you've got NVIDIA's streaming platforms integration on both too. So really it's down to whether you prefer Windows, because Windows is going to allow you to have things that might have restrictions on Linux because of like cheat stuff and things like that. Like Denuvo doesn't run super well on Linux and stuff like that. Right, so like if you're trying to play like certain multiplayer games, like Fortnite or something like that, you're going to want a Windows handheld. But if you want the same hardware and you want to say like play Star Ocean or Cyberpunk or something like that, it's more single player games. In general, SteamOS is going to be more well optimized for those things. So being able to like kind of go between the two and have that's kind of their thing that they're doing. And then you've got the Legion Go and its stuff that's coming out, but all these are like expensive handhelds, and Steam has kind of like targeted that no more than $700 range. I don't know what they're gonna do with their new handheld, but what are the things that you would like to see in the hardware and maybe even the software in Steam's new handheld PC versus what we're seeing from like these other manufacturers?
Yeah. I think the only place that the Steam Deck maybe has let me down anywhere is I do want it to be just a little bit stronger overall, a bit faster CPU, a little bit more RAM, a little bit larger graphics card in it in terms of like its available memory space. Because handheld, everything I've played on it has played really well. Sometimes I gotta cap it at 30 frames per second, but ultimately it plays really well. But then once you dock it and try and scale it up on a TV, it really struggles.
Yeah.
Even things like Potato don't play super great. I've had plenty of times where the game will just crash because it can't handle how many projectiles are going on once it's scaled up,
Yeah.
and things like that. Or, my wife would play like Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
And it looks really low resolution once it's scaled up to a TV. It's like 720 or lower, I can hardly make out what she's doing. She handles it fine because she plays it because she sees the stuff when she's playing it handheld and knows what it is. And then when it scales up, she understands it. But, there's a lot of like, is that a bag of treasure? Is that a box of food? Like, what is that little thing right there? And yeah, I think that's all I really want. And I know I'm not a very picky person, but I do just think like, I want it to be able to, it comes with it, you dock for it. So I want it to at least do 180p. Like if it'll do it 1K, 60 frames per second on the handheld, I want that same 1K 60 frames on a TV.
Yeah, so you said 180p, but you meant 1080p, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure because I know I'm pretty sure I understood what you said.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know
you were
asked
right.
that question, but a listener might not. Yeah, so I think I want the same things. I don't really use my Steam Deck as a console. Like I know it's really cool to have that capability, but I've got my house set up in such a way that I can stream anything from any of my PCs. And I can also use, like, I've got it set up so that I can stream from my PS5 to my PS4. I just don't really need the consoleization of the Steam Deck.
Yeah, I feel you.
It would be really cool to be able to do that, though, if I'm traveling. So I'm never going to say that I won't use that. It would be cool, like, say, if I wanted to play with some friends, like, Smash Brothers or something. Smash Brothers is not the right game, but say we wanted to have like we went to a conference together, and then we were going back to the hotel, and I was like, "Hey, I've got Sunderfolk on my Steam Deck. You want to go play some Sunderfolk?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like that. Like
yeah, because it's a great thing to travel with.
Right.
So the ability to like hook up, maybe that's a software feature. I mean, if it could Chromecast really well,
yeah,
something like that. Because a lot of hotels have Chromecast on all their TVs now and stuff like that. Just the ability to be able to sync up to that TV a little bit better in some way.
Yeah,
would be an improvement I'd be looking for.
I'd love to see it be a little bit more powerful. I'm pretty sure it's going to be. They're probably going to put something that's the equivalent of RDNA 4 or something like that in it. It's going to be like a Z1 or Z2. Probably a Z2 like type chip, and but they're gonna probably focus first on like the console experience in the handheld mode.
Yeah,
I don't want the form factor to change. I love the thumb pad and the way the sticks are. I would love to have Hall effect sticks or magnetic MNR sticks on for the sticks and the triggers, but otherwise I don't want them to change anything about the Steam Deck's like form factor or anything like that. I don't care if they increase the resolution of the screen, but I would really love for them to have, and they already have it in the Steam Deck OLED, an OLED or a mini LED or something like that. That's like one of those technologies that's just like so much better, and 120 to 165 hertz.
Okay,
And I don't want that because I want it to be able to play games that fast, or at that high refresh rate.
Yeah.
What I want is to be able to do things like black frame insertion for like classic games. So like I can be able to smooth out some of the jitteriness and some of the emulation and stuff like that. Like say for Game Boy Advance or PSP games.
Yeah.
That I would love to be able to play on the Steam Deck. My favorite way to play almost any game is sitting on the couch beside my wife while she's watching TV or reading a book, and I am playing. I beat Baldur's Deck doing that. Baldur's Gate 3. I beat Baldur's Gate 3 doing that. That was so awesome. And this is more of a developer thing. Like having those cross saves between my PlayStation and my Steam Deck was just so awesome. I really, really, really want to have the quality of life improvements without changing the form factor. So, I mean, who knows? Valve may never make another one. Supposedly they are. There's like some. The reason I want to talk about this is I saw some things that were in Steam OS that people like pulled out talking about like new hardware and stuff like that. They think it's for a new VR headset and like setup, but there's also some mentions of stuff that might have to do with like triggers and things like that have to do with the Steam hardware itself, and that would be more like a Steam Deck kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I would love to have that, like 720, 1080p, somewhere in there on the game console itself. And then maybe something that allows you to have like some sort of integration with an external GPU, even if it has to be an AMD GPU, like being able to have that like connected to a dock that then will help you to upscale whatever's happening, or like some sort of logic chip on the dock that helps you to upscale what's ever happening onto a larger TV set for those exact moments that we're talking about, like going to a hotel or something like that.
Yeah.
Not so much in my home, but I mean, maybe I would want to play it. Now that I'm thinking about it, man, I've got this gaming computer that's sitting right over there, and we record in my office. I'm not letting the listener in at all. We record in my office. I have an armchair to my right that sits in front of a 43-inch TV set that is set on top of this like gaming tower of console thing that I have there. There's also this big tower PC that's sitting right there that has, it'll basically game as much as I want it to, up here, or I can stream from my main gaming PC to it if I need to. That would be really cool to be able to set up my Steam Deck as my main gaming thing and like turn that into a server or something like that, and not need that for
that's true.
Gaming stuff, and I can just carry the Steam Deck around with me. See it now I kind of want
see the
it.
possibilities.
Now I kind of want that. Yeah. But so the thing I would love to be able to do is play all my PS2, PS1, Nintendo GameCube, stuff like that on TV too. There's a couple of games that I never like finished from that era that I really want to go back and play. And I haven't because like there's some newer games that I've been enjoying a whole lot.
That's always the struggle.
Experience. It is so much. And I got to go back and I need to recertify in 2026 for my CCNP. I can get that done, but I could also get my CCIE. Like what am I going to do? And what's more valuable to me, right? And so maybe I need to focus on that. Well, having something that's like a little gaming handheld that I can do stuff, then put it aside. That's great for those sorts of experiences. The thing I would love to have is, and I don't know if Valve will ever do anything like this, I would like to have a Miyoo Mini style or Miyoo Mini Plus style handheld that also runs Steam OS.
Okay.
That I can play all of my, it could be, really low power. It won't play most games. But it's designed to play like classic games.
Yeah. And with such a massive library of indie games, a lot of modern indie games would play on hardware like that.
Exactly.
Like
Star
machine.
Ocean, little indie machine that'll also play emulation and classic games. that's about the size of a Miyoo Mini Plus.
Yeah.
Could be a Flip or something like that. I would love to have that. So like if there was like a Steamdeck 2 Mini or something like that, that would be really sick. And I know like there's other people that have made things like that and stuff like that. So I would just love for Valve's Steam OS to run on it so that I can take all of my stuff that I have from there and put it on that like machine. I would buy that. Like, I don't care if that was like $500. I'd buy that in like a heartbeat. That would be, I put off buying like all these other things. Most of the things that I buy are somewhere like under $100 because I'm just curious about that like kind of market of things, but they're not like real long-term gaming experiences. The gaming experiences I want to have is my Miyoo Mini Plus and my Steam Deck. Those are like the two things that I want to have. Miyoo Mini Plus is just easy for me to pop in my pocket, carry with me, and do things. The Steam Deck is when I really want to like play and I don't mind like having to like recharge somewhere or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I have my other Android gaming handheld that when I want those like kind of Android experiences I can do. I thought I'd play my Switch a whole lot more than I do. And while I love the games that are on it, I'd rather emulate them on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a hard crossover between the Steam Deck and the Switch.
Yeah.
You know, if you're really into Nintendo first party, I can see Switch for you. But like, having previously had a Switch and a Steam Deck, you know, that was kind of it. Steam Deck was the default, and if something wasn't on Steam Deck but it was on Switch, you'd play it on Switch.
Right.
You know, I think Valve did a really good job of emulating that market of like what people that want to play handheld want. That really did leave it down to, at least in our household, the Switch was primarily, you know, if it was only on Nintendo.
Yeah, I want that sort of thing. So I think to sum it up, you just want like a more powerful set of hardware.
Yeah,
stuff.
I think I just want a little step forward on what they already had, plus some better integration for like scaling to like TVs and stuff like that.
And what I want is similar, except the hardware that I want that's more powerful is also includes like better input device stuff, so Hall effect or something like that. And then also I would like to see a 2 SKU setup where you have a bigger handheld console that you're able to play PC games on, and then a smaller one that's maybe 3.5 or 4-inch, you know, screen that you can play classic games on. And then like the ability, like some better setup for external dock stuff. Yeah, I like that. I think if I had that might be the perfect. I might never want to buy anything else ever again. That might be
you just have those two and you'd be done.
Yeah, I'd be done. I'd be like, all right, we're never going to talk about this again. We might revisit it when a new game comes out, but you know, this is the way I'm playing everything from now on. Well, I think we should look at our warmed up beer and see how it goes. You know, the Brambleberry Crush. You're drinking it now. It does smell a little bit more fruity.
Yeah, the fruit comes out a bit more. It's a little bit less bitter, but you know, overall kind of the same beer. I kind of like it less warm, in all honesty. It's not as refreshing.
It's also not as complex. There's like a melding. It, you know, where it was good in the last beer, I think in this beer, I feel like the melding of flavors is muddier. It doesn't like help as much.
Well, there's just not as much definition because now it's just very fruit forward, and now it's just, instead of tasting like beer that you put fruit in, now it kind of tastes like water you put fruit in.
Yeah, I agree. And there's like an okay mouthfeel overall, you know, from the way drink it cold.
Yeah,
like, definitely drink it cold. They're right on the can. Like, always keep it cold.
Yep.
Well, this is Season 8, Episode 13 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast, slated to come out on September 22nd, 2025. I really fumbled over that. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.